Today we're going to take a look at even more free resources for your holiday projections. And now this is not the A-Team, and I did a video about that. Those are the ones I kind of go to most often, and I'll have a link in the description down below to that one. So definitely check that out. This is more kind of the specialty or B-Team sites that I go to when I can't find what I want on the A-Team, basically. But they certainly are valuable, and there's some unique stuff in here. So let's go ahead and get started. And by the way, the links to all of these sites, including that other video, will all be down in the description below. But let's get started here, and we're just going to open up a web browser, and here's our very first site, and this is mixkit.co. Okay, so not com, .co, and it's a really good video, and they also have photos and even some music and sound effects, but those are a lot weaker, I must say, site, and it's basically kind of the free stuff on Avanto Marketplace, and so that's kind of a mixed bag because everything they have on here is free, but sometimes not always at the highest resolution, things like that, for example. But let's go ahead and get started here. We'll type in Christmas. And to see what they got for Christmas here. This is kind of like a little ad here at the top, but down below here's everything they've got for Christmas. And they got some really nice stuff, but things like this guy right here, which is a great background, by the way, to you know, maybe animate some characters over the top of or something like that, is only available in 720p for free, and also only for personal use. So a little bit limited. That's kind of why they didn't make the A-Team here. But you know, a lot of the videos are not that way. You know, this guy here is a full 1080p video, for example, and you can use it any way you want. Pretty much the Mixkit stock license is pretty flexible. You can even use it on YouTube if you like. They also, by the way, have categories, which is really nice. They have, you know, Halloween, and we got the Day of the Dead over here, which is super handy. And a bunch of other categories down here too. So a really solid site. And by the way, if you switch over to photos, and we'll go ahead and do Christmas again, it takes you to their partner site, which is reshot.com, which is yet another really good stock photo site. And you know, you can look for stuff over here. So two really good sites in one right there. We got mixkit.co and reshot.com. Now let's take a look at some photo and kind of vector and icon sites. And the very first one is a really good vector image site. Now vector images are just basically a line drawing that you can scale up to any size. It can literally go from postage stamps to billboard, and it's not going to get jaggedy or look terrible. That's the beauty of vectors. Now I oftentimes use things like openclipart.org or something like that, but if it's down or whatever, this is a really good site. Now they do have their images in different formats sometimes. We got SVGs, we got AIs, and EPSs. So sometimes certain software supports, you know, certain formats better than others. You know, you might have to convert or something like that. So just be aware of that. Unlike some of the other sites in kind of the A-Team list, which were only SVGs, which you can use, you know, with you know, a lot of desktop software supports that. Things like Inkscape supports those natively really well. You know, this might be a little more of a mixed bag as far as the formats, but they're all really good images. And so we just have, you know, tons of stuff down here. We'll go ahead and we'll you know, we'll type in Christmas, see what we got, and just tons and tons of images that you can use. It looks like 12 more pages of this sort of stuff here. So just really good things here. And one big advantage of this site is they have an SVG generator and editor. Now the generator I really don't find that useful. It's basically a simple line drawing program, but the editor can be handy on occasion, especially if you're maybe working remotely or whatever. Now typically I must say I edit my SVG files you know, in a desktop program or something like Inkscape. But you know, hey, if you have to in a pinch, or maybe you're on a Chromebook or something, well, you can use their SVG edit. And what you do is come over here to this little drop down menu, and you open up the file that you want. Now let me scroll on down here and find something. That's a pretty good one right there. We'll just click open on that. Now we're super zoomed in here, so I want to come down here to the lower left hand corner, and let's say fit the canvas here. There we go. Now we can see everything, and we can actually edit this. So you know, if I click on the whole thing here, with SVGs are all in layers, and so oftentimes you have to ungroup them. So you know, I can right click and click ungroup elements, and it's going to break all of that apart. I'm going to kind of click over here to like unselect everything, and then I can select these individual pieces of this picture. You know, you can, like, you know, move the little bits around. You can also expand them. So for example, if I double click on one of these items, click here, whoops, there we go. It changes actually so you can edit the points that make it up. So you can stretch this around, you can bend the curves at different angles and stuff like that. You can also change how things are layered. So I can right click here and say bring to front. And so, helps kind of cover up that little holiday ball there, whatever. And so you can kind of edit these however you like. Again, it's not super powerful, but it's pretty good for a quick edit and certainly better than nothing and totally free. So that is SVG Edit on publicdomainvectors.org. Now let's come over here and we have another kind of photo place, and this is unsplash.com, and it's a really popular place. And so again, here we can type in a category. We'll just do, we'll change that to Christmas and hit enter. And let's kind of scroll through here. Now this is the ad at the top, obviously, but then you come down here and you got all these different images. So again, just a really good stock photo site. Some of these with these clean backgrounds you could certainly use as like borders and edges and put other things in your video on. And of course you can just click on download. I do believe you have to have an account to download on here though, but a really really good quality site. So unsplash.com. And let's come over here and we've got another one over here. Now this is an icon site, and you might be thinking, well, gee, they're so tiny, how useful is that? Reshot.com here, free SVG icons, and in this case I've selected Christmas. Again, this is Reshot, by the way, which is part of the other website, part of that Avanto chain. But these can be really useful because they're actually SVGs, and so this can be scaled up. Also, what these are really handy for is to put one or more like in a little grouping and then repeat it as a pattern, and you can make your own pattern backgrounds using these icons. So don't overlook the beauty of an icon, especially when it's in SVG format, which means you can make it as large or small as you might need. So that is Reshot, but under their icon section here as opposed to illustrations or photos, so it's a really good site, and like I say, don't overlook the humble icon. Alrighty, and now let's take a look at tiled images. Okay, and here's another site that has tiles or textures that you can basically create copies of that kind of all go together sometimes, and those are called seamless textures. And then they also just have like regular kind of like background pieces of wood or whatever. Those are not necessarily seamless. They're not meant to you can't stick them all together without them having edges, basically. So there's two different kinds of textures. There's seamless and non-seamless, and this site has both. But they have some really cool ones, like a lot of door textures, which is kind of cool, especially if you're making your haunted house look or whatever. Some of these are really handy. And they also have some categories over here, metal textures, gold textures. Some of these vintage textures are kind of cool. And maybe to make wallpaper or like treasure maps or something like that. So they just have some really cool stuff in here. So that is myfreetextures.com. So myfreetextures.com. Yet another really cool texture site. Now, what if though you have an image that is a texture? There's two things you might want to do to it. You might want to scale it, because if it's a seamless texture, they're designed to scale, right? And so if you take a seamless texture and you can make copies of it, you can make a much bigger version of it. Well, there's two, well, actually one online website that lets you do that, but there's two different sections to it. So let's click over here, and this is imgonline.com.ua, right here, imgonline.com.ua. Again, the link is in the description, so you have to remember that. And it has two really nice features. First of all, it has like a full kind of like picture editor built in here. But these are under both under different tools, and we have a tool here to make seamless textures, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, and then ones to tile a seamless texture. And again, what that's going to do is that you have a texture that's designed to be seamless, which means it's meant to kind of stick each piece together. What you can do is you can just upload it here, say how many times you want it tiled, horizontally and vertically here, how many X's, right? So this would be, it's going to have 2 copies horizontal and 2 copies vertical. And then you can pick a PNG or JPEG. Typically I always go PNG because it's without compression, so you're not going to have, it's going to be bigger, but it's going to be better quality. And so you can just upload your images here. And I'm going to show you how we can use that here. And I'm going to show you, though, first on an image that is not seamless. So this is one you would not use with this program right here because it's not going to work out very well. And so I'm going to drag in this image here. And you can just drag and drop it, by the way, over this file chooser, or you can use the file chooser. It's called bullrock.jmp. And it's just a bunch of rocks, basically. In fact, let me go ahead and I'll show it to you. Right there it is. This is a photo of some rocks, and it is not seamless. So you're going to find out here, it's going to have like very clear edges when we tile this. But let's go ahead and tile it. So we got 2 by 2, and I'm just going to click OK. And it may take just a second here, but now we are done, and we can either open it or download it. Normally, of course, you download it, but I'm just going to open it because this is not going to work out well, basically. And there we go. And it doesn't look too bad far away, but if you zoom in, see here's the 4 sections they made. Remember they made 2 by 2, right? And then look at those lines there, right there. You can just very well tell that this is not a seamless texture. It's not meant to go together. But there is a way to fix that, and that's even on this exact same website. Now, and that's right over here. Again, this would be under different tools and under seamless textures here. And right here, this allows you to make a texture seamless. Now, the results will vary. Sometimes this works great, sometimes it's terrible. You just have to try it. But if you've got a texture that you want to tile, it's perfect, but it's not seamless, this is a way to try to make it seamless just by uploading it to this website. And so I'm going to go ahead and take the exact same picture, that bullrock.jmp here. We're going to drop it on here. Now remember, that's the one that looked terrible when we tiled it. And I'll go ahead and I'll switch over to PNG and click OK. And it's going to just take a second here to process it. And then here I'm going to go ahead and open the texture here. And it doesn't really look like much has changed, but it has done some very subtle like blurring and shading and stuff along the edge. If you look very carefully, you might be able to see some of that, but it has changed this image. So you would download this, for example, and I already have, so I'm not going to do it. You basically click on it, it's going to download it. And then I'm going to come back over here, though, to where we actually tile. And this time, I'm going to drag in that seamless version that it just made. So I'm going to drag that in over here. And it gives it a long name. So it's bullrock texture, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, this is the one that is created that can be tiled. And we'll go back to PNG and click OK. And let's go ahead and open the image. And here's our tiled image. Again, it's that 4 by 4, or the 2 by 2, I should say. But let's go ahead and zoom in. And see here, right here, you can kind of barely tell where they have matched them up. But it is nearly invisible, and so we have made a seamless texture out of a texture that is not seamless, basically. And so this is for free online. Now I must say that I actually, in the real world, I use GIMP for this, and GIMP has great tools, and I'm going to be doing a video on how to use GIMP for this. But if you just want something quick and easy and online, this is it. One of the big reasons why I don't use this tool is, for instance, under the tiling part here, if you look at the fine print, it limits the pictures to 100 megapixels, and that may sound huge, but a lot of these textures are really high resolution, and unless you scale them down, you're going to exceed 100 megapixels real easy on here if you try to make this, any big multiplier at all. So that's why I typically don't use the online website, and of course it could be down or something like that. But again, if you're on a Chromebook or something, hey, this is just the best thing since sliced bread when it comes to creating and tiling textures. And by the way, there are other tools in here. For instance, you could use resize. You could come in here and you could resize those high resolution textures down to something much smaller, and that way when you tile them, they won't exceed 100 megapixels. So hey, that's a great strategy too. So just a really good site with a really terrible URL, imgonline.com.ua. Now, let's take a look at some music and other sites here. And the very first one is called zapsplat.com. Now I've already gone into the sound effects categories over here, and you have to go into like free sound effects here, because a lot of these are paid, by the way. But they have a section just for free, and it's right here, and then my link will be to the free section, and everything's in categories, which I really like. And so if you're looking for a giant or a magic spell, or a superhero swoosh or something like that, or horror down here, which is really good for Halloween, obviously. You can just click on any one of these categories, and we have them all down here, and you can preview them, and you can also download them in whatever formats they have. Typically, they're almost always in MP3 and WAV, I believe. Just a good backup here for your sound effect websites. So that is zapsplat.com. And I'll come over here and to the next one. And this is one I don't use very often because the quality varies so much. But there is some good stuff in here. And this is freemusicarchive.org. And they have under novelty, under I guess genres, novelty, and they have holiday section, which is really kind of nice because you can just pick Christmas or Halloween here. And it will bring up songs that kind of fit those categories, and so they're all free and everything, which is really nice. Again, you really have to listen to them, make sure it's something you like. I find this really good for ambient sort of stuff. So you just want something vaguely Christmassy playing in the background while you kind of got slideshow stuff going on or whatever. It's really good for stuff like that, or maybe some spooky music, with your ghost flying around or something. But do listen through them. It's going to take a little while to sort through this stuff. Some of them are really good. Again, just the quality just varies basically. So that is freemusicarchive.org. Now, the very last site is actually one that's just for Christmas, but it is really kind of cool, and it's feellikechristmas.com. And what I love about feellikechristmas.com is, first of all the things on here are free, and under like free Christmas music, they have it broken down into some really useful categories. There's only 4, but they're really nice. We got contemporary instrumental, contemporary vocal, and those are the more modern things, right? And then we have traditional instrumental and traditional vocals, and those are your more traditional carols and stuff like that. Now, these are all from indie artists who basically donated the work to this website so you can have it for free, to help kind of promote themselves, of course. But so if you're tired of playing the same old pop Christmas tunes every year, and you want to find something different, some of this stuff is really great. And they also have some really nice I like the traditional instrumentals down here, and you can find your favorite Christmas carol here, maybe "Oh Holy Night," and you'll just have to listen to it. Maybe it's guitar, or who knows what it is, piano or something. And find a nice ambient background basically to play behind your slideshows. And it's also, again, something not beat to death that everybody's heard a million times and maybe kind of sick of. So that's the first part of feellikechristmas.com that I love. But the other one over here, we're going to kind of skip over here to maybe holiday sounds, and there's not very many of these, but they actually have people saying "Oh, Merry Christmas" or whatever here, sounds of Santa here. So they got just a handful of them. So that's not too exciting, but hey, you need Santa saying "Ho ho ho." You got it right here. However, something that's really unique is audio stories. And again, there's not a ton of these, fair number here, but these are actually stories and poems that people have read, typically as Santa Claus or just as a narrator, basically. And so, if you're looking, for a rendition of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," read out loud, then you got it right here. So Christmas stories, you just don't see that very much, which makes Feels Like Christmas a really special site. So that's it for the B team here, for the extra sites you go to, your backups, your unique things. And again, for tiling those textures, it's some really cool resources for that. So I certainly hope you like this additional list here. And and as I gather more resources, there may be a third one here. I basically put out something every time I get a nice list of things that I think are unique and valuable, and most importantly, free, basically. Because we all need more free resources. Paid is great, but free is even better, especially if it works in your presentation. Anyway, so if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.